David, do you know what the date was when Hushim ben Don killed Esav, when Esav was trying to interfere with Yaakov's children bearing him?
The date?
You know what date the calendar was, like what the day of the year, not the exact date with the year, but the day of the month of the day. I was told that was on Zois Chanukah. It worked out to Zois Chanukah, which would have been the second day of Teves.
I have no idea.
Someone once told me it was that date, and Hushim ben Don, who killed Esav, is the Oisios, spell the word Mashiach. And supposedly the Zois Chanukah is a very big school for Mashiach to come, because it was the day that Hushim ben Don killed Esav. Now, I double checked with Moshe Sharf, and he also told me it's a big school for Mashiach to come on Zois Chanukah. But that's what I once heard, that Zois Chanukah was the day that Hushim ben Don killed Esav, and it corresponds with the last day of Chanukah, which is a big school for the Geula. So I wouldn't want to say that today's learning is Le'ilu Nishmas to our uncle Esav, but it is Esav's yahrzeit today, if that's true. I always wondered, when we learn extra, we spend more time learning on Kratz Mechar New Year's. I hope Yoshka doesn't get any schar for prompting that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it's nittel. Okay, so let's see what the Gemara says. Vein oisen nidachas, and nidachas also requires a bezin of 70 or 71. Minahan Amili, what is the makar for that? We're in test Zayin Base. Oh, shkoich moting for a beautiful, beautiful. Amar Abchi Bar Yosef, Amar Abba Yishiyad, Amar Kra. It says regarding a regular person, an individual who does avodah zarah, like Tseisa es Isha who, or yes Isha he, and you take it lisharecha to a regional bezdin of 23. Ish v'isha atamoiti lisharecha. Who gets to go to a regional bezdin of 23? An individual who is over avodah zarah. V'yatamoiti kala yerkula lisharecha. But the avodah zarah that was done communally does not get treated as individuals. It's a bezdin of 71 that has to down them. Ein oisen ir nidachas pesaper. I'm not sure exactly how the word is pronounced, but a border city, a city that borders on the Goyim, you don't make that ever into an ir nidachas. My timer. What's the reason for it? Oh, you have an art scroll. Test item base. Is it Safar? Or how do you? Safar. Okay. My timer. Mikirbecha amorach. It says in the pasuk. Look at the pasuk inside. Kisishma the achas arecha asher Hashem alakecha noisein l'chol Hashem v'sham leimor. No, I'm sorry. It says Bekirbecha. Where does it say Bekirbecha? Oh, here it is. Yotza Anoshim b'nei V'lial mikirbecha, from the heartland, not from the border. V'loi shalosh, and you cannot make 3 cities an ir hanidachas. The chsiv, because it says achas, right? It says ba'achas sharech. Avol oisin achas oishtayim, but you could still make 2 cities into an ir hanidachas, even though it says achas. The chsiv orecha miloshim plural. So the miyut of plural l'shnayim, so you see 2 cities can become an ir nidachas, but not 3. Tanu rabbanan, achas v'loy shalosh. Frank the Gemara, ata imer achas v'loy shalosh. Oyeno elo achas v'loy shtayim. Isn't usually that's what 1 would be mamaya 2? Zok the Gemara kishahu oimer arecha. Arecha is plural. Harei shtayim omer, including arecha in the parasha of ir nidachas. Achas must be coming to be b'mayit. Achas v'loy shalosh. That is what the Brisa says. But Zimnin Amarav, sometimes Rav would explain this as bevezdin echad hu de'enoisin habishnayim u'shloisha batei dinim oisin. There's halacha that you cannot make 3 cities into the ir nidachas. Sometimes Rav would explain it dafka bevezdin echad, as Rashi says bevezdin echad. Man, Sanhedrin zu kaima. We know you have to use a bezdin of 71. So what do you mean another bezin? There is only one bezin of 71. Zokt Rashi, each Sanhedrin can only make one city into the Ridachas. But if they get disbanded and there's a new Sanhedrin, there's a new composition, there are new Supreme Court justices that were nominated to the bench. They can make a second Ridachas. I assume so, because it says if they die. Now they could only make one city in Ridachas, one per custom. Another bezin could make another Ridachas. I will oisam shtayim. I'm sorry. That's what he said sometimes. And sometimes Rav said, you could only have one city being an Ridachas. You could never have more than one city to be an Ridachas. My timer, the Rav, over the svar of the second Rav, why you don't let multiple Ridachas, Mishum Korcha. We don't want there to be places in Eretz Yisrael that are uninhabited, because they were all killed out. So therefore, we only allow one city to become a near Nidachas. I guess it means forever. Amarish Lakish, Loishanu Ela b'Mokemech. This that we say that you cannot have more than one Ir Nidachas b'Mokemechad in one region, as Rashi says, Kegoin b'Galil or b'Yehuda. So in one region, you cannot have three cities. But if we're in different regions, such as the Galil or Yehuda or Yarden, there you can have multiple Ridachas. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, even in multiple Mekoimos, we don't want there to be patches of Eretz Yisrael that are missing. Tanya Kabal said Rabbi Yochanan, and we have a brayso that supports Rabbi Yochanan that even in multiple regions you don't have multiple Ridachas. Because it says, "Einoishin shalosh ayaros minudachos beretz Yisrael." You're not allowed to have three iranidachas as in Eretz Yisrael. Aval oisin oisam shtayim. You can have two. Going achas b'Yehuda, achas b'Galil. You can have one in Yehuda, one in Galil. Aval shtayim b'Yehuda, ushtayim b'Galil. Einoishin. You can't do two and two. Why? Because there will be a total of four, and he doesn't allow it even if it's spread out. Usmucha l'safar. And if we have a city that's near the border, afilu achas einoisin. You don't even make a single city near Nidachas if it's a border city. My time, what's the reason for it? If they hear that there was a border city that's uninhabited because everyone was killed out, they might invade. Practically, what do you need these svaras for? We already learned it from a pasuk. You're only allowed to make a city in the heartland into a near Nidachas, but not a border city. That is the reason. But Reb Shimoni the Darish time with the crop. The reason why the Braisa tells us the reason is because we don't want the goyim to hear. That's according to Reb Shimon, who holds you're allowed to be Darish the shot in the pasuk, the reason for it. Sanhedrin Gedola Hoysa, we had a machloikis if it's 70 or 71. And let's have a look at the Mishnah. This is already towards the end of the Mishnah, I believe, on number base. No, I'm sorry, I apologize. It's still on Amud Aleph, the bottom of Amud Aleph of the Mishnah, base Amud Aleph. The Mishnah says, Sanhedrin Gedola, Hoysa shall Shivim va'echad. It was of 71. Ukatana Shalosh Mushloisha, the regional Batadinim were 23. Minayin Legedola, he shall Shivim v'echad, should never esfuli Shivim ish muzikle Yisrael. So Moshe had to gather 70 people. Moshe al Gabein, and Moshe was the Rosh Bezdin, that's a total of 71. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Shivim, it was only 70. Zok Tehil Gemara. My time of the Rabbanon, what's the svar of the Rabbanon the Amri uMoshe al Gabei, that Moshe was part of the Bezdin and he was member number 71. Amar, it says in the pasuk, it says this. Let me read the pasuk inside. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Hashem told Moshe, Es v'li shivimis meziknei Yisrael. Gather 70 people from Ziknei Yisrael. Asher yodata came Ziknei Ha'am, that you know that they are Ziknei Ha'am, Vishoitrov, and they're police officers. V'lakachta oisam el oil moed. You should take them to the oil moed, v'yisiatzu shamimach, and they should stand there with you. Zok Gemara, Amakrav yisiatzu sham imach. They should stand with you, meaning imach latadayu. They're standing beside you, meaning they are on your rank. You're bringing them up to the level of your rank. I'm just going to look at the Bach. Imcha mishum shchina. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda imcha mishum shchina. Rabbi Yehuda says no. The reason why they stand near you is not because you're an equal with them. It's because you are the one who's going to take the shchina and put it upon them. As Rashi says, imcha mishum shchina. Imcha yamdu michutz la'oil. They're going to be out of the oil moed. They're not allowed to come into the oil because of shchina. That wasn't the pshat that I said. I said the next pshat of Rashi. So the first pshat is they should stand with you. In other words, they should not go into the oil moed. They should stay out of the oil moed. So imcha was just to give them coordinates of where they should stand. But lo shenachem mishum shchina means shetishra shchina aleim. They needed Moshe to be shoyev, to shep the shchina and harness it and channel it to them. Took some of the ruach that was on Moshe and transferred it to the Sanhedrin. Rabbanon, what about Rabbanon who says that Moshe was number 71? Amarkra, v'nasu itcha b'masa'am. They're going to carry with you masa'am. Where is that pasuk? That I don't believe that's the pasuk in let's see what it says over here. Oh, it is V'yoraditi v'dibart im chosham v'atzalti min aruch asher alecha v'samtei aleim. And then these 70 v'nasu itcha b'masa'am, they will carry the am with you v'loisisa ata livadech. So therefore, at v'nasu itcha b'masa'am itcha v'at bahadayu, you're one of them. That's why there's 71. Rabbi Yehuda says itcha b'doimin. It doesn't say v'nasu itcha to say that you're an equal with them. Rather, they're independent of you, and the best is 70. So what does it mean v'nasu itcha? It means b'doimin. You need to find people. Zok Rashi that are yuchasim u'menukim imum. You have to find people who are of the same level as you in order that they should be zoiche to be on the Sanhedrin. I'm sorry? No. Each one had to be on their own, exemplary. Remember you asked me a question, do they need to have equal representation on the Sanhedrin? So let's keep that in mind. I think we're going to get an answer to that. Rabbanon, so today you do remember the question. Okay. Rabbanon say, you know how we know that they all have to be at Moshe's level? From a pasuk in Parshas Yisroi, when Yisroi was describing the Batei Dinim, the lower level Batei Dinim that Moshe was supposed to establish, it says, Me'vahakel me'alecha v'nasu itcha nafka. So we learn it from the other v'nasu itcha, as Rashi says, Rabbanon nafkalu b'doy melach, v'nasu itcha, this Sanhedrois ketanois, shenemar b'Yisroi, v'yalfa gedoy l'miktana, just like the mini Batei Dinim that Yisroi told Moshe to establish. Just like they have to be on Moshe's stature, we can assume that to get on the Sanhedrin Gadol, you have to have at least that same level. The Alpha, Sanhedrin Gadol, Sanhedrin Ketana. Okay, so those are the two pshatim as to whether or not Moshe was one of the 71, or if he was a Rosh Bezin, but the 70 was the Bezin and he was on top of it. Tana Rabbanan. This is the story of Eldad and Medad. So let's have a look at the pasuk. It says in the pasuk, after Hashem put the Shechina on the 70, it says, Vayisharu shnei anoshim b'machna. There are two people who remained in the machna, Shem ha'echad Eldad, v'Shem ha'sheni Medad. V'tanach alein haruach. The ruach rested upon them. V'heim b'aksuvim. They were from those that were written down. V'lo yotzu ha'oyla, and they didn't go to the oil. V'yisnabu b'machna, and they said nevuah in the machna. So it sounds like they weren't from the 70 that were gathered. They were two other people that were saying nevuah. There are those who say, what does it mean they were b'machna? they were left in the machna. It doesn't mean they were physically left in the machna. It means bekalpi nishtayru. Their ballot was left in the box. What ballot? Shebeshosh Amru. This is a fascinating calculation over here. Shebeshosh Amru la Kadosh Baruch Hu leMoshe. When the Kadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, Esveli Shivim Ish Mizikna Yisrael, how is Moshe going to pick 70? I mean, there's probably more than 70 who is roy. So how is he going to now pick who's going to be on the list and who's not? Amar Moshe Ketzed Esa. And here's talking directly to Dovi. Ever Shisha Mikol Shevet for Shevet. What should I do? Should I take 6 of every Shevet? 12 times 6 is 72. I only have slots for 70. Nimtu Shnayim Yisayim. Ever Chamisha Mikol Shevet. If I pick 5 from each Shevet, 12 times 5 is 60. Nimtu Asar Chasayim. We're missing 10. So this answers your question. They have to actually have equal representation from each Shevet. Ever Shisha Mishevet Zeh. The Chamisha Mishevet Zeh. Should I pick and choose which Shevet gets to give 6 and which only gets to give 5? Hareni matal kina ben hashvatim. That's going to cause machlokes amongst the shvatim. So what am I supposed to do? So ma'asa, listen to what he did. Birer Shisha. He took 6 people from each Shevet. So he assembled 72 names, but not everybody was going to get in. Vehevi shivim ushnayim piskin, and he took 72 blank pieces of paper, and they played musical chairs. Al shivim kasav zaken, on 70 he wrote zaken. So if you pick that, you're going to be on the Sanhedrin. Ushnayim hiniach chelak, and or cholak, and 2 left blank. So the question is, everyone picked ballots, and whoever picked the ballot that was blank lost out. What do you mean? Well, there was only going to pick 70. He was going to be one. Yeah. No, on top of the 70. Yeah.
Wait a minute, I have a question. That means there was someone from every Shevet.
There was at least 5. There was at least 5 from each Shevet.
If they were dunning the Shevet, wouldn't the part those in the Sanhedrin from that Shevet?
I guess we had to say they had some type of intellectual integrity.
Okay.
Okay, and you think this is because you're from the Shevet? Maybe they hate them more. Because I know.
That's what I'm saying.
So Dr. Gemara, what happened? Bolan v'nosim b'kap. He mixed them all up and he put them into a box. And Omerlam, he lined up the 72 candidates and he said, "Boyu utlu piskechem." Call me Zakein. Whoever picked the piece of paper that said Zakein, he got on the Sanhedrin. Amar, he said, Kfar Kitchach Shemayim. You see, HaKadosh Baruch Hu picked you, and you are on the Sanhedrin. Mishal B'Yadechelek, Amar, sorry, Hamokim Lechavetz Bach. Hashem didn't want you. What do you want from me? Ani Ma Esala. Right?
Seats in the van.
Right?
Hashem wants you to sit.
The kids. Oh, geweldig. But there's a massive problem. Why is there a massive problem? Let me ask you a very simple question. If you're the first person who picks, so roiv of the shtiklach are zoking. But if you're the last guy who picked and you picked chelek, you didn't have a chance. So they could still complain. Let me pick first. Why is that? It's a very question. Let me pick first. The guy who picks first has the best chance of picking the right one.
The last one to pick. There's more people that have a chance of picking color.
What?
You're the last one to pick.
Yeah, but once it's your turn to pick, there's not much of a chance anymore. It's already determined. The last guy to pick it was predetermined before he even got there. So that is a discussion that the Achronim had. So the Marshal speaks about it, the Ben Yehuda speaks about it. So there's a whole bunch of different pshatim. One pshat that Ben Yehuda suggests is Moshe Rabbeinu knew Baruch HaKodesh, the 2 that weren't on the Sanhedrin, and he had them pick first. So the 2 guys who picked the blank paper, who picked the small pencil, they picked first, so they wouldn't have such a time. That's one shot that the Ben Yehuda says.
You're the last one to find above the lottery.
But that's the difference because they pick it later. Here it's pre-done. It's like buying a scratch and win that's not the winner.
You need to have like the balls in the lottery.
Yeah.
All come out at the same time.
I hear it, but that's not what happened. There's another shot. Another shot that's offered is he actually wrote 72 shtiklach that said Zakin, and he added 2 blanks. But then the question is, he had to rely on an ace, because what if all 72 people would have picked Zucking? So he was relying on an ace that wouldn't happen. That was another option of what happened. There was a third option that the Ben Yoda suggests, and that is because the last guy who picks is always going to be the one who stays. It's not fair. I picked last. And by the time I came around, there was no chance. And that's even a time in my way. Because again, if you have 72 and 2, when you pick one, you have a much higher likelihood. You have a much higher likelihood of getting those Zucking. So that's why Al Pi Ruach HaKodesh could be Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what the Ben Yoda says. Had the 2 people who picked the blank one go first, that was that pshat he had. The other pshat he had was that he was Shai Mechal Hanais and he had 72. But there was another pshat. What?
Have a girl.
But that's not what happened. No, I understand. It would be very good, but that's not what happened. So we're trying to understand how Moshe made it that it should be completely fair. Okay, you find a similar type of arrangement that they had to make. Oh, that was another thing. Another thing is could be they didn't allow anybody to open their thing until they all took. Right, that's what to be said. Very good. Thank you for reminding me. Or there was another similar case where it happened. If you remember, originally the Bechayris were supposed to be those who do the Avodah, and after the Ma'aseh Egel, it was switched over that the Levium did it. The problem is there were more Bechayrim than Levium, and there was a deficit of 273. So you could have a Levi go and stand in place of a Bechor, but what about the 273 Bechayrim that are not accounted for? What are you going to do with that? They have to be pointing themselves with 5 shkolim. So the question is, which Bechor is the one who has to pay the 5 shkolim? Everyone will say it's the other guy. So what do they do? It says, for the 273 extra people, they have to pay 5 shkolim. Amar Moshe, again, Yisrael. What am I going to do with them? If I tell anybody, give me your 5 shkolim, but say and leave, he'll say, Kvar Padani ben Levi. No, I'm one of the guys who's connected to B'nai Levi. Ma'asa. Evi Esri Mushnayim Alpayim Piskin. He brought 22,000 Piskin, because that's how many Levim there were. The Chazav Aleim ben Levi. V'al Shloisha v'shivim u'masayim, and then he took 327. Shloisha v'shivim, no. It's 273. It's 273. And on 273, Chazav Aleim Chamisha Shkolim. There's a shadow. Why did he have to write Chamisha Shkolim? Why couldn't he just leave them blank, like the ones? But that's discussed. Bolon, he mixed them up. But Nosson Bakalpi. Amalan, he told everybody, Talu Piskechem. Mishal b'yodei ben Levi, Amar Loi, Kfar Podach ben Levi. Mishal b'yodei Chamisha Shkolim, Amar Loi Tein Pidyoinach B'tzei. Who's parchment? Yeah. So Zog to Gemara, it's a Gemara. So that's the first pshat. In what does it mean? Elder Ramedus were left over. What it means it was left over, Rashi says, it's still not clear. Rashi says what it means that was left over is they were afraid they were going to pick the blanks. Since they were afraid that they were going to pick the blanks, they didn't pick anything. And there were two ballots left in the box that said Zoking, but they didn't pick it. So they were really selected as the Sanhedrin, but they were afraid to take it. Let's have a look at Rashi. Misha'ala b'yadai chala u'shnayim hayoshim shivim shaholchu litoil Allah b'yadai chala. Two of the kohanim, two of the candidates for Sanhedrin picked the blank. V'nishtayru shnei piskin shoyuksuvim bekalpi. There were 2 piskin that were written, meaning they actually said Zaki. And who was supposed to pick those? They didn't want to pick. Why? They were so afraid of losing, they copped out completely. So that's what it means. They were in the Snab Benachana because they really were picked by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yet they didn't want to take the paper. So that's what it means. They were left over. Their ballot was left over. Okay. Rav Shimon Aimer, no, b'machana nishtayru. They never came to the oil moed. They stayed in the machana. B'shah she'amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu es v'li shivim. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe to gather 70 people, Amru, Eldar Umeida, they were very big on Novim. They said, Ein anu ru'uyin lo gedula. We're not going. We're not going because we're not on that madriga. They're big on Novim. Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hoyel umi atetem atzmechem. Since you lowered yourself, you had such a nova, Hareini Moshe gedula al gedulaschem. I'll make you greater than the rest of the 70 Skenim. Uma gedula hoysef lahem. What greater feature did he give them? Shanavim kulam nisnabu upasku. They all said nevuah at the time, but then they stopped saying nevuah. Vehem nisnabu v'loy pasku. They retained nevuah and they continued to say nevuah. Uma nevuah nisnabu. What extra nevuah were they saying? You know what they said? Moshe meis. Moshe was going to die, and Yeshua machnis es Yisrael la'aretz. And Yeshua is the one who's going to bring Klal Yisrael in to Eretz Yisrael. And it's brought down that it's merumas. It said, Elder Umeidad mis nabim b'machana. And they dashed the pasuk as meis neviim. So they were saying nevuah that someone's going to die. Who? Moshe Rabbeinu. Abachanan Aimer Mishum Abeliezer al iske slov hein misnavim. We knew that they were going to be receiving the slov, and they announced to everybody, at least love, come slov, and the slov is coming. Which could also be meis navim, because the slov habosser identity ben shineim, it caused them a gefa. Rabbi Nachman Amar al iske goy gumagoy hayu misnavim. They were saying the nevuah of the far distant future of goy gumagoy of the geula, the precursor to the geula. Shenemar koy amar Hashem Malakim ha'atahu asher dibarti b'yomim kadmoinim. Are you the one who spoke of those early days? Yad avodai nevi Yisrael haneviim b'yomim mahem shnayim lahavi oischaleim. I mean, lahavi oischaleim. It says it's shonim. So let's look at it. Actually says shonim in the pasuk. So let's look at the pasuk inside where I have Nakudas. So I guess I'll know what it's talking about. Koyamar Hashem Elokim ha'atahu. The Baruch was speaking to Cheskel. Asher dibarti b'yomim kadmoinim b'yava avodai nevi Yisrael hanivim b'yomim heim shonim lahavi oischaleim. And the Gemara tells us that darshan that word shonim as shnayim. I'll talk shonim al shnayim. Ve'eza hein shnayim neviim shnisnabu b'perach echad nevuah achas. Who are the two neviim that in one period said together one nevuah? Havoimer Eldar Umeida. So they stayed in the machna and they had a high level of nevuah. Okay, there are those who learn the Mashar brings down, the Ben Yadava brings down that could be everybody. What everybody agrees, they both said Moshe Meis and Yeshua bring Klal Yisrael in, but one added to the nevuah of the Mechabesh Magog, and the other one added the nevuah of Slov. Omar, Chol Neviim Kulam Nisnabu Pasku. The Brisa just said that all of the Neviim at the time they said nevuah, then the nevuah stopped. Behem Nisnabu v'lo Pasku, they continued saying nevuah. Minol on the Pasku. How do you know they stopped? How do you know all the other Neviim stopped? Ilam Midichsev Vayisnabu v'lo Yosafu, meaning Dafke Eldar Umeida, Vaytach, everybody did. Elamayata Koil Gadol v'lo Yosaf. Does that mean it's a Koil Gadol that never stopped? Hachanami, the loy oisafu. It's never going to stop. I'm sorry. I'm not saying it right. I'm not saying it right. Let me look at Rashi. Ilam dichsiv behu b'shar zakenim v'lo yasafu u'mefareshes loy v'lo yasifu. They didn't continue. So if you're going to learn that lo yasafu means they didn't continue, elamayata kol gadol v'yosaf the shechina. If you when the Torah talks about the sound of the Shekhinah, I think, but the Kolos of Torah, it's also V'lo Yosef. Hachanami, the Lo Yosef, it means it didn't continue, right? Lo Yosef means it didn't stop. It could also mean it didn't continue. So if you're going to learn V'lo Yosef, it didn't continue. So then you have to teach it the same way when you're talking about the Kol Hashem. You can't say the Kol Hashem didn't continue. Ela Karach Lo Posaku. V'lo Yosef means it didn't stop. Kol Shekhinah in the Posak. The Kol Shekhinah didn't stop. So when it says Yisnabu V'lo Yosafu, it doesn't mean they said nevuah and they didn't continue. It means they said nevuah and they didn't stop. So where is there a makar that their nevuah stopped? El loy pasaku el hacha ksiv isnabu and hasam ksiv misnabim. When it spoke about the 70 less eldad and medad, it says v'isnabu miloshen avar. They said nevuah, but when the Torah talks about eldad and medad, it uses a current tense. Misnabim, they are currently saying nevuah. Adain misnabim v'hoilchim. Zok the Gemara, b'shleim alaman damar Moshe meis. I understand if the nevuah that eldad and medad was Moshe meis. Now we know why it was objectionable, right? Yeshua said, "Adoni Moshe kloim, destroy them," because they're saying something very disrespectful. Hainu dechsev Adoni Moshe kloim. The other two nevuos, either about the Shlov, about Gog and Magog, why are they so bad? Why did Yeshua suggest that they should be discontinued? My Adoni Moshe kloim. Zok the Gemara, the tiny was the lav oirich arahu, the havelik a Talmud hamor alach of rabbi. Why would they be saying nevuah? It's disrespectful to Moshe. Nevuah should be said by Moshe Rabbeinu. So could be that was the avla that they were doing. If you hold that they were saying nevuah that wasn't particularly disrespectful to Moshe Rabbeinu, Hani Dechsiv, Moshe Rabbeinu defended them. He said, "Mi'itin halavai, everybody should be neviim." So Moshe strongly supported them. El Lamandamar Moshe Meis. How could Moshe have been happy with that? How could he have said Mi'itin that everybody should say such nevuah? Why would he want everybody to say nevuah about him dying? Meina chavan nichalei. No, when Yeshua told Moshe Rabbeinu that Eldad and Medad were saying nevuah, he didn't tell them what they were saying. He just told Moshe that there was nevuah said.
He said before, both told us that
Well, that was one shot, right?
that
That was one shot, yeah. My Kaloi, what exactly did Moshe Rabbeinu mean by destroying them? Amalei, Hatal Alayim, Tzoicher Tzibor, Ben Kol Meleim. If you give them communal responsibilities, that's automatically going to destroy them. The Mefarshim say, let's see what Tosha says. Tosha says, Pirsh Nevu Osam Kala, the Nevuah will stop. Then Shechina Shara Mitoich Atzvos Ela Mitoich Simcha. If they're going to be involved in communal matters, you have nothing but sudas. If anyone who gets involved in communal matters gets nothing but sudas, he's for sure going to be in a bad mood. He's not going to have Hasharas Nevuah, because Nevuah is only Shara Mitoich Simcha, and anybody who's involved in communal matters is always distressed. Zoktimor, see, nothing changed. Zoktimor Minayin Lahavi Oit Shloisha. How do we know that there's another three? So let's go back to the Mishnah, where the Mishnah talks about the Bezin of 23. So the Mishnah says over here, Uminayin L'Ktano, Shehi Shal Eshem Shloisha, Shenemar V'Shavtu Ha'eda V'Tzilu Ha'eda, you need an Eda Shefetes V'Eda Matzelis. You need at least 10 people saying schus of the accused, and you need at least 10 people saying to condemn the accused. That's how you have 20. And then how do you know about the extra 3? Because it's not 20, it's 23. It says, I'm sorry, it says don't follow the Rav to do bad. So you obviously go bust to the Rav to exonerate him, but you don't go bust to the Rav to condemn him. It says Acharabim Lahatais. So what's going on over here? When you're following Roiv to exonerate him, that's a different Roiv than you follow when you want to follow a Roiv to condemn him. If there's even a majority of one to rescue him, to exonerate him, we follow that small majority. But in order for you to be able to condemn him, there has to be at least a majority of 2. So let's think about this for a second. If you have 23 dayanim, is it ever possible for him to be condemned with a majority of 2? Let's think. If it's 11 to 12, there's a majority of 1. If it's 10 to 13, a majority of 3. So how would you ever have a majority of 2? Yet the Mishnah says, how would you ever have a majority of 2 condemning this man? So Zog to Gemara. Minayin lavi oich shloisha. Frag the Gemara. Soif soif l'ra al pishnayim loy mishkachas. You're not going to be able to have ra al pishnayim. I echad asar mizakin ushnei masar mechayvin akati chadu. It's only a majority of one. And the asar mizakin ushloisha asar mechayvin talosa hava. It's a majority of three. How do you ever have a majority of two to condemn? Amar bavo iyate moitze ela b'maisifin v'divrei hakoil. What does maisifin mean? Rashi says, what if one of the people says, I don't have an opinion? So the halacha is you add two more. If you add two more, so you had 23, now you're down to 22 because you have to eliminate the guy who doesn't have an opinion. Now you have 24. If there's 24, it's possible to have 20, you can have 20. No, we're assuming that one guy will vote one way and one guy will vote the other way. So if you have 24, it's not 12 and 12, it'll be 10.
13, 11.
It'll be 13, 11. Okay, thank you for someone who helped me with that. Thank you, Akiva. Too early in the morning for that.
You told me they can't abstain. You told me that people can't abstain.
If they're abstained, they're bounced off the Bezdin. And then we don't listen to them anymore. Sanhedrin Gedola, or by a Sanhedrin Gedola, but leave Rabbi Yehuda Damashivim. Or you can have a majority of two if you're speaking about the Sanhedrin Gedola, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, who holds you can have an even number. V'amar b'vo. If everybody weighed in and one guy didn't want to weigh in, then they add two people. That's how it works. V'amar b'vo v'maisifin oisin bezdin shakol l'chatchila. Whenever they have to add, because one gets eliminated, they always add two, and that creates a bezdin that's shakol. Pshita. It's pashut that it becomes a bezdin shakol. So it's not pashut. Because Mao de Tema, this talks to what Akiva was saying before. Mao de Tema, hide the kamar in Yedea. The guy who didn't want to weigh in, commanded Isei Dame, we still consider him part of the bezdin. And therefore, if he has an idea that he wants to share, we should let him at least share his idea. Kamash Malon, that once you say any idea, we don't listen to you at all. You're discharged from the bezdin. We won't even listen to your opinion. Kamash Malon, I had to come in idea. Command Allah say dami. He's completely excluded from the bezdin. The Amar Taima, even if he just wants to say an opinion, loy shmeinin loy, we will ignore him. He's by not stating an opinion, he's off the bezdin. In other words, if you can't solve a problem and come up with an opinion, don't just hack a cup. Don't be a commentator. Be a player. What? Yeah, he can't be a critic. He's got to be a participant. Amar Kana, Sanhedrin Sharo Kulon L'Chayv. What if they're pasking Lemisa and there was a unanimous decision that the person is guilty? Poitri Noisai. This guy gets exonerated. My timer, even the Gemiri, Halonas Din. The halach is we know that in order to condemn somebody, they have to think about it overnight. They can't condemn somebody on the same day. Therefore, why? So that maybe overnight I'll think of his chus. Once you have a unanimous decision that he's guilty, leaving it overnight will not help them reconsider. If there were opposing opinions, so then maybe they could hash it out and people will change their opinion. But if everyone is unanimous, it's not going to work, and therefore he's not going to be able to have this extra halon hasadin, and therefore we exonerate. Tall people, wise people, good-looking people, and old people, and people who know kishif, and they know all 70 languages. Sanhedrin Shemas and PM Turgaman. We don't want hearsay. We don't even want hearsay through an interpreter. They have to hear it directly from the witness, and the only way they could understand that is if they understand the language. Why does the stature of a bezdin have to be strong, tall, and good-looking? Because they have to instill fear and respect amongst the people. So they have to look important. They have to look good. What
You mean, Yosy, there's no Yiddish translator that you can ask for like you do in local courts, right?
No, you can't do that. That's right. Can't do that. Rashi says, why do the Balakayim Umarish, the Emoson, Mutelos Alabrias? Ubalik Shofim. What about Balik Shofim? Why do they need to be Balik Shofim? What does a bezdin have to be able to do kishiv? Lahamis Mechashvim What if there's a culprit, there's a convicted guy who tries to use kishuf to avoid misa? They have to out kishuf him, which is very difficult to understand because you're not allowed to do kishuf. So the Achrayim talk about this. Or another reason why they need to know is because they need to know the rules of kishuf to know if somebody's guilty of doing kishuf. So the first thing that Rashi says, the first one talk about it. What do you mean they'll use kishuf? They can't use kishuf. So that those only Rashi means that if they know kishuf, they'll know how to bypass the kishuf, but not using kishuf. But the pashtus of the lashon of Rashi seems to indicate that they're going to use kishuf to out kishuf them. I'm not sure how that could be allowed. Okay, Zok to Gemara weiter. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, Ein Moshiv Sanhedrin, Elamish Yedea Letaris Asheretz. He has to be such a lamdin that he could find a way to be mitayr something that's openly tummy. Toshus asks, I don't understand. You need Dre cups? You want a whole bunch of brisker Dre cups on the bezin? What's wrong with having somebody who knows halacha well? You have to be such a Dre cup? So Toshus has a discussion about it. So he could be mitayr shirts from a Torah. Amar Rav, Ani Odin Vaterna. What are you talking about? What's the big deal? I can show you. I could make that a shirts should be tar. And it's a simple kabul chaymer. A nachash is like a sheretz. Uma nachash. Shememis. A nachash kills people. You know what? It kills people, it kills animals. You know what the halacha of a dead animal is and a dead person? Tumah. So a nachash is the creator of a lot of tumah. Ma nachash shememis umarbe tumah. Nevertheless, a nachash that dies is tar. Sheretz, a sheretz. She'enei memis umarbe tumah, like a mouse. Einoi din she'etar, sure it should be tar. So that's his Kavachoimer to prove that even a sheretz deraisa will be taught. V'loi midi to have a koitz b'alma. It's not a kasha. A thorn that someone pricks himself with could also cause death, right? And there you don't say such a svor. V'loi lav kavachoimer. Dein zachoimer imumemis umar b'tuma. Sharei kamok and yishkoitzim shem amisin umar b'tuma. They ain't Torah. So that's not a raya. Did you ever wonder why a nachash is not like any other sheretz? All of these types of things are tummy. Why is a nachash not tummy? Ever wonder that? Why is a nachash, when it's killed, why is it not tummy? So the Rebbeinu Babachia says the reason why a nachash is not included in the shrotzim that are tummy is because of deracheh d'akninoyim. Imagine you have a kohen, someone who's eating tyrus, and there's a snake in his house. You want him to start clearing, oh, I don't want to kill it and become tummy? You want him to be able to kill it instinctively and not even think twice. So that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even though a snake should be tamei, like a sheretz, a snake is not tamei, so people shouldn't hesitate for a moment to kill them. That's what the Rebbe Bachya says. I'm reading the Marav. Kol ir she'ein boi shnayim ledaber v'achas l'shmoya. Any city that doesn't have at least two people who know how to speak 70 lashonos, and one person who understands it but can't speak it, if the city doesn't have these types of people, ein moshivin ba Sanhedrin. You don't put a Sanhedrin in that city. Uba Beitar, in the city of Beitar, have a shloisha. They were 3 people who spoke 70 languages. Uba Yavna arba. In Yavna there were 4 people. Okay. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Kiva, V'Shimon Atemani, these 4 people, don lifneim bekarka, would paskin in front of them in karka. It means they were all able to speak all the languages. And if you look at Rashi, Shimon Atemani, it wasn't Rav Shimon, it was plain Shimon Atemani, Talmud Hoya V'lo Nismach. He was a Talmud, he never got smicha, zikna, he never reached zikna, he never got a full smicha. Okay. Zok to Gemara weiter. Meisvei. We have a brayso that says shlishis chachma. If there's 3 people who, if Sanhedrin sheyesh bo shloisha medabrim v'shivim lashon, if they only have 3 people who speak 70 languages, that's chachma. That's a smart Sanhedrin uksher and kosher. So you see, you need 3 that could speak. And revius ein lamala himena. If there's 4 people, that's like off the charts. Zok Gemara, who dormek haitan? In fact, there's a machloikis. The Tanya, shniya lachachma, shlishis ein lamayla himena. So at the end of the day, there's a brayso who holds that 2 is enough. Zok the Gemara as follows: what if, whenever the Gemara uses a lashon of lemeidin lifnei chacham, These people learned in front of the Chachamim. You know who it's referring to? It's referring to Levi. It's referring to Levi. Levi, whenever the Gemara uses a lotion of Lamed in Chachamim, it's referring to Levi. And who was he learning from? He was learning from Rebbe. Whenever the Gemara used a nusach of Donin Lefnei Chachamim, they passed in front of the Chachamim. It was referring to Shimon ben Azai, the Shimon ben Zoyma, the two Shimons, the Chanan HaMitzri, the Chananya ben Chachinoi, and Rav Nachman Yitzchak, Masni Chamisha. Rav Nachman Yitzchak holds that there's whenever it says Donin Lefnei Chachamim, it includes a fifth person. There's Shimon, V'Shimon. There's three Shimons, Chanan v'Chananya. So which Shimon is he adding? He's adding the earlier Shimon of Shimon HaTimoni. He's adding Shimon HaTimoni to this list. Okay, Gewaltig. Rabbi Seina Shebabavel. Whenever the Gemara says the Rabbi Seina Shebabavel said something, it's referring to Rav and Shmuel. Whenever the Gemara says Rabbi Seina Shebe'eretz Yisrael said something, it's referring to Rav Abba. Whenever the Gemara says Dayane Goyla said, it's referring to Karna. And whenever the Gemara says Dayane Eretz Yisrael, it's referring to Rav Ami Veravasi. And whenever the Gemara says Dayane the Pumadisa said this, it's referring to Rav Papa Bar Shmuel. And whenever it says Dayane the Narda said something, it's referring to Rav Ada Bar Menyumi, Sabi, Dirsura, and Rav Huna Rav Chisda. When it says Sabi the Pumadisa, the elders of Pumadisa, it means Rav Yehuda and Rav Eina. When the Gemara says Charivi the Pumadisa, the sharp people from Pumadisa, it's referring to Efa Va'avimai b'nei Rachva. Whenever it says Amiroi the Pumadisa, it means Rabba Rabbi Yosef. Whenever the Gemara says Amiroi the Nahardoi, it's referring to Rab Chama Nahar Beloi. I'm sorry? It's referring to Rab Chama. Nahar Beloi, Masnu. If it says Nahar Beloi said something, it's referring to Rami Barebi. Amri Bei Rav. If it says someone said in front of Rav, who is the one who's speaking? It's Rav Huna. For the Gemara, how could that be? Amr Rav Huna, Amr Bei Rav. Rav Huna himself said Amr Bei Marv. If he was talking about himself, he wouldn't talk about himself as Bei Rav. Ella, it's Rav Hamnuna. Amri Ben Marava. What if it says that they said over in Marava? That means it's referring to Rabbi Yirmiyah. If it says Sholchu Mitam, they sent from Eretz Yisrael, it's referring to Rabbi Yosy Bar Chanina. When it says Machaku Marava, they would laugh at him Marava, it would be Rabbi Lozer. In fact, Mahak Dabi, for Sholchu Mitam, L'div Rabbi Yosy Bar Chanina. It says the case of Sholchu Mitam according to Rabbi Yosy Bar Chanina, so it can't be Rabbi Yosy Bar Chanina talking. Elaipach. Sholchu Mitam is Rabbi Lozer, and the Machaku Marava is Rabbi Yosy Bar Chanina. Okay, the Chama, Yehei Ba'ir, V'yihei Ruilas Sanhedrin. How many people have to be in the city that this city can have a Sanhedrin in it of 23? So one of the Nischos was 230. Me'av Esrim, Ma'av Viditayu. How do you get the calculation of 230? Zaktimar Esrim Ushloisha Keneged Sanhedrin Ketana. You need 23 because that's how many people you did in Sanhedrin. And then you have Shalosh Shurosh Shal Esrim Ushloisha. Then another 3 rows that each of these 3 rows had 23 dayanim, and the reason why you need those is just in case you need to appoint backup. So 23 times 4 is 20 times 4 is 80, 3 times 4 is 12, so we're at 92, right? Hooray, Tishim Atart, we're at 92. Vasar Batlanim, so basic nesses. Every city has to have Vasar Batlanim, so now we're at 102. Harameo Tre. Ushnei Sorfin, you need 2 stenographers, so that's 104. Ushnei Chazanim, which makes it into 106. Chazanim are Shamshe Bezin Lahalko Isachai Lahazim Baladinim. So it's not just the Chazan, it's the shoiter, it's the guy who does the enforcement. Ushnei Baladinim, someone's got to come to court, right? Ushnei Eidim, and you need 2 Eidim. You need 2 people who could be Mazim Eidim, because otherwise the Eidim won't be afraid to lie. Ushnei Zayim, and then you need a 3rd set of Eidim, Ushnei Zayim, so the people who want to come and say these are Zayim know that there's somebody else who can take them away. So in total, that's our Me'ah of our base. It's 114. 114. We're still short. 6, right? Because we're going with the sheet that it's Me'ah of Esrim. It's 120. So we're up to 114. We're missing 6. What time we learned? Any city that doesn't have these 10 things, Ein Talmud Chacham or Shoy Lada B'Soy. Talmud Chacham is not allowed to live in such a city. What are the 10 things they need to have? Bezdin, Makin v'Oinchin, Bezdin, and the people who carry out their sentences. The Kupa Shal Tzedakah, and the Kupa Shal Tzedakah Nignis B'Shnayim. You need 2 people to do the collection. U'Mischalekes B'Shloisha, and to distribute 5, to distribute to 3, so that so far 5 people. So these 5 people are not in our list. So we were at 114. Now we have 114 plus 5 is 119. And we're missing one person. You also need a basic knesses and a basic merchets, u basic kisei. That's of course not a person, but then you have to have a roife who's a moil. Rashi says, uman is someone who's mak is dam. Lavlor is a sofer. Tavich and a shoichet. There's some people hold you need water. But I'll call upon him. Rashi says all of these functions, the roife, the uman, the lavlor, could have technically been one person. So that would be the last person to make up the 130, the 120. You also need to have different types of peiros. Because peiros make your eyes light up, meaning you'll be able to learn better. So Al Kapanim, we have our count of 120, it's 114 plus the extra 6 people, the 2 and the 3 for tzedakah, and the 1 person who could take on the role of Raifai, Uman, and Lav. Rabbi Nechemia Omer, Tanya Rabbi Omer.
Bottom line, see doctors in the morning.
Doctors, doctors in one, that's right. Meya v'shivim v'shiva. You need to have 177. That's what Rabbi said. So where do you get 177? So Rashi says, Messiah Mishlosh Rabbi Nechemia. He has the 130 of Rabbi Nechemia, and you need another 47. So 130 plus 47 is 177. Void Mem Zayin, Shem Yischalku Bezdin, Yud Alf Mazakin, Va'achadosh Mechayvin. What if it was 11 and 11? Va'achadoim in Yudaya. In such a case, Yosivu Me'elu Mem Zayin at Shivim. You have to continue adding 2 at a time to try to break the tie up until you get up to 70. You need 178. That's going according to the shita that you have a Sanhedrin of 71. So then you'll need another 48 people to continue adding until 177. That is what Yisroi suggested to Moshe Rabbeinu. So sorry, Alofim, if there were 600,000 people, then for every 1,000 people, there'll be 600 of them, because there's 600,000 people. So sorry, Alofim, Shesh Moyes. Sorry, Meos, there would be Shesh Alofim, there would be 6,000 of them, because 600,000 divided by 100 is 6,000. Sorry, Chamishim would be Shnei Masar of 12,000. Sorry, Asaris would be 60,000. Because if there's one for every 10 person, there would be 60,000 people. Nimtzu, Dayana Yisrael, if you added up this whole list, you know how many Dayana you would have? You would have 78,600. 78,600 is the total of all these positions that we just listed. Baruch Hashem, we were zeicha to finish Hilchas Sanhedrin, the first parak of Sanhedrin, and B'lineder, we'll chazor it again, B'lineder hadin lachtin imamanis, B'lineder hadin lachtin imamanis, B'lineder hadin lachtin imamanis. So now we are finished Friday's daf, so tomorrow we will learn Yud Ches, which is Shabbos' daf, and then on Sunday morning, we will learn Sunday's daf. And just for those who are interested, Avram Weisbrod will be saying Shabbos' daf on Shabbos, an hour before Mincha, but we're not going to learn much of Shabbos.
Yossi, for the town that had 120, what would be the Bale Din? Because usually we'll say Dine Mominus is in 2. Those are Dine Nefashis. So it's really only one person is being charged. It's
so that's a very good order. Here's Shaila. For a bezin of 23, you need to have, we said 120 people. Why? Because 2 baladinim. If it's 23 people, they're not passing on Dina Mominus, they're passing on Dina Nefashis. They're passing on Dina Nefashis, so you only need 1 baldim. And the Chlamid, but if that's going to be the regional bezin, so it's possible Dina Mominus will come to them as well. Right? They need to have, so you're saying if they have Dina Mominus, let's just have 3 of them make a separate bezin. I think it's a very good kashmir he was asking. Because who said for Dina Mominus, you need to have all the people? No, it's a good order. I didn't think of that. I don't know. What do you think?
How did he kill him? When the guy killed him.
No. Well, the guy that killed Kennedy doesn't show up in bezin. He's dead. If it's Bar or Ratcliffe, I hear. I don't know. That's a very good child. I don't know the answer.
Unless we're saying it's the, but even then it would be one of it's the mechitin. So he's claiming Pesach Pasuach Masasi, and she was Mizana.
Oh, you're talking about maybe it was such a dinamominus. Oh, very smart. That's a gewaltig Einfall. Maybe it was a case. Remember, we learned that when you go to a case of Hoitzah Shemra, there is two balidinim, and that we had a sheet that he had to start off at 23 right away because it could morph into a dine nefashos. Oh, so maybe it's for that. Oh, gewaltig, it's a more the I like this.
I mean, it's not dine. It's not the usual term of bali din, because if it turns into mumminus, it right away drops down.
Well, remember we had a whole sugi about it. If because there was a sheet that holds you need 23 for dine knas.
Okay.
Okay, shkoyach.
Okay, sure.
Bye-bye.
Safe trip, safe root canal.
Thank you. Thank you very much.